Welcome to Smart Wealth with Joshua.
Your daily stock analysis and catalyst talk. Today we're looking at Kopin.
If you find our talks useful, please consider subscribe, like, and comment underneath. It really helps us out.
And a quick note before we get into today's stock. If you trade stocks, crypto, forex, gold, or indices and want clearer buy and sell signals, you can check out VIP indicators through my link below. Grow 100 of $10K with VIP indicators. VIP Indicators offers TradingView indicators, market alerts, trading education, and chart reading support with up to a 93% win rate. The tools are designed to help traders spot possible setups faster and trade with more confidence. But please remember, trading is risky. No indicator can guarantee profits, and growing $100 into $10 is not guaranteed. Use these tools for education and analysis only. Manage your risk carefully, do your own research, and never trade money you cannot afford to lose. This is an affiliate link, so I may earn a commission if you use it at no extra cost to you.
All right, let's move into the wealth building context. Because when you picture the future of AI, you normally think of massive tech giants, right?
Yeah, exactly. You picture these huge Silicon Valley monoliths.
Right, armies of software engineers, trillion-dollar market caps. But looking at Kopin, it is just a totally different story.
It really is. It's one of the most unexpected reinventions happening right now.
Because this is a company that literally makes its money manufacturing night vision goggles for soldiers. So how did they fit into the global AI supply chain?
Well, to understand that, you really have to look at their foundational capability. They manufacture ultra-small microdisplays.
Oh, wow. Tiny screens.
Exactly. I mean, incredibly high-resolution screens that are small enough to fit inside a pilot's helmet or augmented reality headsets or thermal imaging goggles.
Right.
But the real wealth-building factor here isn't just the screens themselves. It's their manufacturing setup. Right now, Kopin is the only manufacturer in the United States producing 4 distinct types of these microdisplays under one roof.
Okay, let's break that down a bit because there's a lot of alphabet soup when you look at the hardware specs. You see things like AMLCD, FLCOS, microLED.
It gets pretty technical.
So why do they need to make 4 completely different flavors of these microscopic screens?
It's because they serve very different tactical purposes. So AMLCD stands for Active Matrix Liquid Crystal Display. That's your battle-tested, super reliable legacy tech.
For just standard rugged environments.
Right. Then you have FLCOS, which is ferroelectric liquid crystal on silicon. Basically, it allows for incredibly fast pixel switching and massive contrast ratios.
Which you'd need for something like thermal imaging, right?
Exactly. When picking up a slight temperature variation can literally mean life or death, FLCOS is vital. Then they also do microLED, which is insanely bright. Perfect for daylight augmented reality where the screen has to compete with the actual sun.
Makes sense.
And finally, they're bringing OLED manufacturing in-house right now for deeper blacks and better power efficiency. Having all 4 of these in a single domestic facility creates this massive regulatory moat.
I'm glad you brought up the regulatory moat because by law, U.S. defense and government applications require strict domestic sourcing, right?
Absolutely. That national security imperative is the whole foundation of their business model.
You can't have the interface for a drone targeting system being built overseas.
No, you can't. Because they are the only U.S. facility making all these distinct technologies, Kopin operates as a sole source provider for a ton of critical military programs.
Which essentially locks out foreign competition completely.
It does. And for the major defense primes, the massive contractors actually building the helicopters and drones, it creates these astronomical switching costs.
Right, because once Kopin's display is integrated and validated by the military, they aren't just going to swap it out for a cheaper overseas part.
Exactly. The friction to change suppliers is just way too high.
Well, wait, if Kopin is the only game in town, why hasn't a massive defense prime just bought them outright? Why let an independent supplier hold all that leverage?
That's a great question about industry dynamics. The major primes actually prefer Kopin to stay independent.
Wait, really? Why?
Well, if a single prime buys them, suddenly all the competing primes have to buy their critical parts from a direct rival.
Ah, right. That would be a nightmare for them.
Yeah. So by remaining independent, Kopin can sell to everyone. It shares the R&D burden across the whole industry.
All right, let's look at the fundamentals. Because having a government monopoly sounds amazing, but relying on government procurement is notoriously painful.
Oh, absolutely. The revenue is incredibly lumpy. You get these flush periods followed by brutal droughts while politicians argue over a budget.
Right, and we saw that. They reported a Q1 earnings per share loss of 2 cents, which actually missed estimates. And a lot of that seemed driven by lingering government shutdown delays.
It was. But the data shows the core business is actually stabilizing and accelerating, despite those macro delays.
How is it accelerating if they're still posting a loss?
Because the backlog is finally converting into real orders. They recently secured a $21.5 million follow-on contract for thermal imaging systems.
Okay, that's a huge financial floor.
Yeah, and on top of that, they locked in a $3.2 million initial order for Sentinel FTV first-person view drone goggles.
So the pipeline is actually surging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to look at the balance sheet. In late 2025, they secured a $56 million private placement.
Oh, wow. So they're sitting on a lot of cash.
They have $34 million in cash right now. Management stated that Sentinel funds their operations through at least mid-2027.
That brings us to the catalyst timeline. Because, a solid defense business doesn't explain the absolute frenzy around this stock right now.
No, it doesn't. To understand the frenzy, we have to talk about the copper bottleneck.
Right, so we're pivoting from thermal drone goggles into AI infrastructure.
Exactly. When you look at modern AI data centers, you've got thousands of advanced GPUs stacked in server racks.
Just crunching massive amounts of data.
Yeah. And those GPUs have to share data with each other to train these models. Historically, they've been linked together using traditional copper wiring.
But AI has scaled so fast, the data loads are too big for copper, right?
Yes, the physics of copper are literally failing. As you push more data at higher speeds through copper wire, the electrons start bumping into each other.
Which creates electrical resistance and a massive amount of heat.
Exactly, degrades the signal. It's basically like trying to force a fire hose of water through
Through a tiny straw, yeah. The friction is unmanageable.
Right, you can only push so much data over a few meters before the cable basically melts. So the industry desperately needs optical interconnects.
Meaning using light to transmit data instead of electricity.
Exactly. Photons have zero mass, so there's practically no friction and no heat.
But how does Kopin, a company that makes visual displays, solve a data center wiring problem?
This is where it gets fascinating. Kopin is partnering with a company called Fabric.AI to develop something called Neural I/O.
Okay, using those micro LEDs we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of arranging them into a screen for human eyes, they're using those microscopic light emitters to transmit data across optical cables between GPUs.
That is a staggering pivot, just completely redirecting their tech.
It's a profound paradigm shift. And they already secured a $15 million initial development order for it.
And they took an equity stake in Fabric.AI too, didn't they?
They did, a 19.9% equity stake, and Kopin will be the exclusive manufacturer of these chipsets.
Wow. So they hold the manufacturing keys. What specific dates should investors watch to see if this actually plays out?
Well, there are two major catalysts over the next few months. First, SOF Week Special Operations Forces week in late May and early June.
Right, where they're showcasing new soldier vision tech.
Yeah. And there are rumors that the initial $3.2 million drone order is just a test run for a massive 40,000 goggle contract by 2028.
40,000 goggles. That would change everything.
If that rumor has teeth, SOF Week is where we might see the signals. And then for the AI side, watch their Q2 earnings in August.
To get updates on the Fabric.AI timeline.
Exactly. The market needs to know the Neural I/O chipset is still on schedule for commercialization by late 2026.
Now let's pivot to the chart, because the technical momentum here is just aggressive.
Very aggressive. Q1 revenue came in at $10.55 million, nearly beating estimates.
And they reaffirmed the 2026 guidance of $52 to $60 million. But the actual stock price action is wild.
It's in a massive parabolic breakout. Over the past 6 months, it surged 87%.
Yeah, currently trading around $4.97, which is a massive 71% above its 200-day moving average.
It's pure price discovery mode. Analysts are universally upgrading it, with price targets from $6.25 up to $10.
So what does market sentiment look like? Because a stock in a parabolic breakout with a PE ratio over 500x sounds terrifying.
I mean, it sounds like a classic hype bubble.
Yeah, exactly. Why is the market tolerating a 500x PE for an unprofitable company?
Because they're pricing Kopin with a dual valuation model. They assign a baseline value to the secure defense business and then layer a huge premium on top for the AI optical pivot.
Oh, I see. So they aren't valuing them on current earnings.
No, they're valuing them on the probability of future architectural dominance.
Now let's talk about the risks. Because if that valuation demands perfection, What happens if they run into engineering setbacks?
That's the bear case right there. Execution risk. If the neural IO commercialization is delayed past late 2026, the stock will violently correct.
How far down is the safety net?
The first major technical support level is the 20-day moving average, which is way down at $3.87.
Wow, so that's a 22% drop risk right off the bat.
Yeah, and you have macro headwinds too. The tech sector is being dragged down by the Middle East conflict. Plus, if Congress stalls a budget resolution again, defense momentum could stall out.
So the risks are definitely tangible. So with everything on the table, what's the final verdict?
The deep tech analysis yields a bullish score of 8 out of 10.
Okay, an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, for investors with a 12 to 18-month horizon, it represents a really unique asymmetric opportunity.
Because they're leveraging that impenetrable U.S. defense moat to fund this high-reward leap into AI hardware.
Exactly. If they successfully execute on those neural IO chips while riding that drone procurement wave, the revenue growth could just be unprecedented.
It's a fascinating multi-year view, and it leaves you with a really provocative question to mull over. As AI continues to scale, will the biggest hardware bottlenecks actually be solved by traditional silicon giants? Or will they be broken by outsiders, like a niche night vision display manufacturer?
It definitely changes how you look at legacy hardware companies.
And if you want extra help reading trading charts, you can check out VIP indicators through the link below. The campaign is grow $100 to $10K with VIP indicators. And their tools include TradingView indicators, market alerts, and trading education with up to a 93% win rate. But trading always carries risk, and no profits are guaranteed. Use the tools for education and analysis, manage your risk carefully, and always do your own research before making any trade. This is an affiliate link, and I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you.
And if this episode helped you, please subscribe, like, and comment underneath. We'll see you in the next Smart Wealth with Joshua episode.